Yeah, that was all right.
So, welcome to our first episode of Tired Masterminds.
Oh, we got that soundbite in the bank.
We
This is all behind the scenes. Look how much I can do this. See or take it ruined for you.
welcome to first episode of Tired Masterminds. This is a little intro from the future. We're sitting here in season 2. And
Finally, an intro to our very first podcast episode.
yeah.
The horror show that is Good Morning.
A movie that, we held on to for quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
I remember I was threw out my back and I couldn't sleep unless I was laying on the ground. And I was like, I need a movie that will put me to sleep. So I put on a movie called Good Morning. The irony. But I watched like the first 10 minutes and was like, no, this is something that I actually want to pay attention to. So I turned it off 2 years later or something like that.
Yeah.
We finally got to it and it seemed to be the perfect time because it's now our first episode and it's quite the film to start off with. We just put up one wide, which you guys are looking at right now, actually. Adam's like, do you think that we should check the audio? And
Yeah,
I
it's
just
a very
brush them off. Like
it's a hard brush off. No way I'm pulling down this background to check on the audio. Okay. Did you try it on this thing yet?
No, I'm gonna bother. Hey.
Oh yeah. So also in the audio, because we're probably not going to be able to clean it up, is some sounds. There's like a furnace, I think. But spoiler alert to all you geocachers, we're in Canada, and we would have probably frozen the depth, and it would have just looked like our stupid shit technology just froze up on us.
Yeah, be sitting here like Phyllis, all three of us.
Yeah, it's a bumpy ride from start to finish. The podcast, not the movie. I think it's specifically very funny that we talk about how long we've been sitting on waiting to talk about this movie, and then it's we really do or die all over it.
Yeah.
But we go into it pretty good for about the first 15-20 minutes. Just so it's a little easier to digest, we jump into the year 59. We talk about some contemporary films of that era. We talk about people who were born around that time, or probably more specifically at that time. There's lots of knows. There's lots of or somethings.
Yeah.
Not very well,
Yeah.
Still prone, of course. Not to poo-poo ourselves too hard, but we do go off on a good tangent of just talking about other things that this all sort of spurred on for us in ways, hopefully.
Predominantly, Asian media. You're talking about Japanese novels you've read. We discuss Parasite, which of course is Korean. We did discuss, because it is a film that is heavily based on like generational gap. It's about kids and the parents and the families all in this little community. But also, since this movie was produced in 1959, we talk about a lot of the comparisons and differences between that time and now, which I thought was probably the most interesting part of the episode.
Yeah. And then we stopped to look up the exchange rate for yen in a terribly egregious way.
Interesting stuff.
Yeah, so there are a couple of jump cuts in the thing, but not at that point where there should be. you know, which is a testament to how much that we did leave in. And, you know, I hope that it's not too terrible. Little bit of a spoiler alert just on
spoilers alone.
Haruki Murakami's books, Kafka on the Shore and 1Q84. Nothing too big, just a little bit about the story. So if you haven't read those books and would like to, you know, maybe skip over a couple minutes there.
Yeah, we encourage everyone watching our episodes to watch the movie first, because there will be lots of spoilers in our, you know, while we go through the film and review it. We're pretty meticulous with going, you know, through and dissecting it bit by bit, and you can't really do that without, you know, some spoiled milk along the way.
Yeah.
So we encourage you to
have seen everything.
Watch the film and then enjoy the ride with us.
Yeah. I mean, this one's not terribly intricate
Probably
as to how
best. Probably the best, like, not going into spoilers and stuff like that.
Like, sitting through the podcast, like, I had to really be like, do we ever talk about the movie?
Yeah. There was a gap where we were kind of wondering, do we get back on track? Which we did. A very unconventional way of doing 50-50, putting the film at the in the first and last quarter. Really
bookends our episode about nothing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Look out for those Seinfeld references.
Yeah, there's a Superman in every episode.
Yeah.
Plenty of shout-outs to Select Sounds going on in this one.
Our unofficial sponsor.
I pray they're still around and everything.
Oh, yeah. And also, since we're on that topic, I'd like to give a shout-out to J.D. Boudreau and J.D. Boudreau Designs and Illustrations for getting the logos for us, and Stefan at High Powered Customs for making the shirts for us.
Yeah. Good fellas. You know, we'll put the tag in the description. I don't know. That's what some other podcasts do. I don't know.
Both of them are going to be on the podcast here in the future. So be watching out for that.
Keep your ears out.
Yeah.
And eyes sometimes. Yeah. So if you're offended by farts, I mean, this one you might want to skip past it. There's a brief mention of those. In
the podcast, in the film, it's fartful.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, other than that, feel all right about it, and super excited about some of the other ones to come, and Christmas one coming out. If you're listening to this in real time. You know, which I doubt. We have Christmas coming up next week. So right off the hop.
Keep your eyes wide shut.
Yeah. What? Liam is very cryptic about what we're going to watch here.
No, I'll go straight forward with this one. We're going to be watching Eyes Wide Shut.
Yeah.
Stanley Kubrick's last film.
Mm-hmm.
A week after that, we're doing the episode will be on January 1st, so I'll be saying a long goodbye to 2022. That's a little cryptic for you. See how I spun that?
Yeah.
But yeah, and the show must go on. We got, 10 episodes in our first season. We'll be, recapping with these intros along the way. And hope you guys continue watching into our second season.
Yeah.
Where we'll be in the present.
And some super cool stuff already underway in that one. I don't know who. Hope you could enjoy some of it. You know, that's what Fast Forward's there. Give us a listen. We're your buddies.
You're our hero.
You're my hero. So yeah, check it out and hope you enjoy.
All right. Yeah. Being a tired mastermind, I'm not usually a morning person, but we came across a film that I found at Select Sounds in Bedford called Good Morning. And no, even though it's not ranked on the top 100 Criterion collection, Adam found it being discussed by another YouTube channel, and yeah, I really enjoyed it.
How long ago was it that you picked that up now?
It was about 3 places ago. So I think I was still living in Bedford, so it would have been a couple years ago. But we've been sitting on it because we wanted to watch it and I guess get the most out of it, and that's why we brought it here.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been sitting on it for a long time. So, 1959.
Yeah.
I guess that's where we can start with
the
when
year,
it all
the
really
year was
started.
1959.
Yeah, when it all started to go down. So, would you know some of the other stuff that might have come out around that time? I mean, some of Ozu's contemporaries.
I'm guessing something by Orson Welles or.
Yeah, probably. There's some heavy hitters out there. There's the Francois Truffaut, the 400 Blows. I imagine.
Also Criterion.
Yeah, that's way up there.
Yeah.
So, big year for the Criterion collection, really. There was the 1001 Arabian Nights, which was the animated one.
Yeah.
So that was a huge one. I haven't seen that. But it was a giant year for Ozu. He did Floating Weeds, which we haven't watched yet.
Ozu is the director of Good Morning, by the way.
And a movie, John Paul Jones, starring Robert Stack from Unsolved Mysteries.
Yeah.
And there was also, like, I didn't think it was going to be that stacked of a year when I first looked. But then there was this Last Train to Gun Hill. And
Great name.
What?
Great name.
Yeah.
I'd watch it.
Kirk Douglas, Anthony Quinn, like all big names of the time.
Yeah.
The Mummy, that old one with Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee came out.
Yeah.
North by Northwest.
Oh wow! See, I knew there was going to be a Hitchcock or an Orson in there somewhere.
Yeah, and definitely. And then there was also Plan 9 from Outer Space.
Yeah.
Ed Wood.
Yeah.
One of the worst movies of all time. Rio Bravo.
Okay.
You ever have Rio Bravo in any of your old VHS collection?
No.
And Sleeping Beauty as well.
Okay.
So, a pretty stacked year as far as competition and stuff like that. But this, was on the list of notable works, of course.
Because even in the collection, I would say that, other than my Hitchcock catalog, I don't have many from the 50s. And, you can. It's amazing to think how far back that was, and thinking that a film of this quality, it kind of blew me away to watch this movie from 1959, and it holds up.
Yeah,
to an 80s or a 90s. You would watch this movie and not think it was that old.
Yeah, and if you think about people like Aidan Quinn and Ving Rhames and Kevin Spacey, since we're talking about farts. I'm just kidding. Weird Al, also born in 59. But also, even though that was a long time ago in film, there was, people that are still around making their debuts in film back then. Like Mia Farrow in that John Paul Jones movie. George Hamilton, if you know him from stuff. Martin Scorsese did his Vesuvius 6 that year, his first thing. Steven Spielberg with The Last Gunfight. Billy D. Williams, The Last Angry Man. So it's pretty crazy there that this, Japanese comedy film, that feels so modern now came out at way back then.
Yeah. And 1959, me and you both have put a lot of theory into like these eras, 30-year spans, and this is right at the end of an era. Yeah. And like you said, all these the new era of film, Scorsese and Patrick Swayze are like just getting there. Some are being born, their careers are being born. So it really was that turn of an era.
Yeah, and fart's still just as popular.
Yeah, it was funny, you watch this film and they're making the noise that they go, come here, and they poke you on the head and then do or die. And you watch the film and I don't know about you, but I definitely thought that they were just making the noise. But when you come out with the whole premise of the story, like the storyline, a huge part of the kids' stories is this fart game.
And I guess one thing we should just touch on is that it is a loose remake of his own 1932 silent film. Get it? I was born, and this is his second one in color, which is crazy because he was all like 32 to 59. That's like 17 years between those two things.
Yeah. And the color even looks kind of strange. It looks like almost like painted in or something. It's like a hazy.
Yeah.
But
I guess we did learn like kind of like how color evolved that way.
Yeah.
Got painted in.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what it reminded me of. Starting off, it was hard to figure out which parents or what kid belonged to which parents.
Yeah, it was a real Home Alone.
And there's the story arc with the parents, very political because they live in this commune where.
Not a commune, I don't think. They're like suburban.
But it's very like it seems like there's not walls between some of the houses.
That's like the condos of the time. That's so high tech.
Yeah.
If tech exists, they'd be into.
But there's the whole money situation going between the parents. And then that's contrasted by the pure innocence of these kids that all they care about is being able to fart and being able to watch sumo wrestling.
Yeah.
And
yeah, interesting, like the sumo wrestling, because when I first watched it, I was a little bit stupid about like not knowing exactly even when TVs started showing up in houses. Like I know like in the past you hear it, but then out one year. And so like finding out back in 1927 or whatever, so like that this is post-war, so this is new to them.
Yeah.
And they're all trepidatious about it, kind of like, ooh, a little bit nervous.
Yeah.
But almost treated a little like the monolith in that way. Like,
It definitely, so a lot about the generational gap. And also kind of turn of an era.
Yeah.
Where these kids are so fixated on TV and the parents don't get it. They keep sneaking out of the house to go watch TV at the two people's house, whoever it is that just kind of sit in their pajamas and smoke cigarettes.
Yeah.
Didn't seem to be any of the parents or anything like that. And they says, well, stop sneaking out of the house. And it's like, well, this is simple. Just buy me a TV.
Yeah. We'll be here all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
Right under your nose.
And then it goes into a vow of silence between the two brothers, which was just hilarious. Yeah. But
and it was kind of like a vow of like they weren't eating the treats and stuff. maybe because they had to say something to get it, actually. So that's
Yeah,
how it showed how they were making sacrifices.
Yeah, exactly. They were just eating the powder.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, yeah. That stuff that they were getting warned was gonna turn to cement in their stomachs.
Yeah.
I totally forgot about that powder.
I know.
Holy moly, yeah.
And there was lots of like little things, like the guy coming and trying to sell them stuff, but then in an intimidating way, he's trying to sell pencils and he's sharpening them with a knife. And then he gets shooed off by the grandmother who has a bigger knife.
Yeah. She knows just how to deal with it. She's wise to that old kind of tactic.
Yeah, exactly.
That's interesting. There's probably something to that, like how this like old ways are trying to get in as well as the new ways.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't think about that as like that kind of symbolism at the time, but it's just like, oh, no stores, I guess. The stores kind of come to you.
Yeah. Yeah, and then, I guess that's probably a culture thing as well, where it's like, we don't usually get that. But, and then also the guy came behind him and was trying to sell them the burglar alarm.
Oh, yeah,
And then it shows later on that they're in cahoots.
Yeah, of course.
And then there's the drunken man that the father gets a job at the end of it, at which he ends up buying the TV from. So there's a lot of like little tiny moments in there. I'm trying to think if there's anything else, but
yeah, it's weird how, like I said, like that Home Alone kind of craziness of who's the parent here kind of thing at the beginning, and all of that confusion, and just as you're watching it, you know, because movies, most of them are probably meant to be watched one time, and you are kind of skeptical, like, oh, I don't know, like, then it's kind of like simple, and, you know, it's like in the mundane a little bit, like it's just like, you know, the lady's just like doing all the housework all the time, like there's always like a, you know, a cloth in their hand, and then it jumps like right into shit.
With the kids there.
Oh yeah. Then you start like realizing by the end that it's like a very complex movie. And is looking at so many different things. And even though, you know, we're not from Japan and it's not 59, like the things that transcend that in the movie are pretty crazy.
Yeah, and speaking of like different cultures, like bowing as a greeting, like I think especially with the pandemic now, I think that should be a global thing. Like, why are we shaking each other's hands and stuff? It just seems gross to begin with.
Yeah, I don't know if there was like a thing to do with that, like even in polite society, you know what I mean? Just not touching or something like that, but still acknowledging.
And since we're doing differences, can you look up what 20 yen is in Canadian?
In today's money?
Well, I'd like to do the conversion too, if we could. So they bought a...
so it's 20 yen is... 100 yen is basically $1.
Basically $1. So then... So 20 yen would be like 20 cents?
22 cents now.
So they're paying 22 cents for their stock of spinach.
Oh, that's right.
In 1959.
What? That can't be right. Saying it was like...
If you're wondering who our guest is here, this is Phyllis. Phyllis the Seat Filler. She's a little overdressed, but glad she could make it.
Yeah, you know, I'm not sure about all the historicals on that, but I imagine Was she outraged? I guess we have to go by her expression at the time when she heard it.
So very old school parents. It seemed like the mothers stayed home, the fathers went to work.
Yeah.
He even says because the kids are talking back, he says like you guys are acting like women. To his two sons, which is like, it's those things. Those were the only things that kind of brought me back to, oh, this is a movie made in the 50s.
Oh yeah.
Because our next film was is the 90s, and there wasn't that much difference because and that's another thing is technology, where the parents don't understand why they want a TV, like it's gonna rot your brain kind of thing, because technology, even from the 50s to the 90s, went like this, and then ever since the 90s, the technology's just been on this upward slope.
Yeah.
And I think, that's probably a battle that parents have with kids with phones. Like, kids that age are getting cell phones now.
Yeah, like I was just wondering the other day if people are still saying, "Oh, I'm old, I don't know how to use computers." Like, it seemed like it's been about 20 years since people are saying, "I'm too old, I don't know anything about computers."
Yeah.
So all them people should be maybe gone.
Yeah.
But the people now that are of the age where all that started, like they all know computers. They gotta know computers.
Yeah.
There's a couple of I don't know computers people back in 1959's Japan television scene.
Yeah.
I don't know TVs.
There's probably classes. There's classes where people could go and learn how to use a microwave. I actually saw, we were on our way to the beach.
Oh yeah.
And there's a place, my dad stopped and to get a beach blanket. And I saw this book that they were selling, and it's a microwave cookbook.
Nice.
And that blew my mind. Like, what? A cookbook for
yeah,
the microwave?
well, they don't have everything on
Must
the
be
thing.
big print. Pork, 2 minutes.
Yeah, people that didn't get that book would have to, stop every 30 seconds or 15 seconds, touch the middle, give it if you have a, I don't know, like ham cordon bleu, you gotta make sure it's in the middle, so you gotta go all the way with your finger, the full flat, almost right to that little bit of panko at the bottom. Make sure.
Flip it and stuff. Yeah. This one is the microwave oven, not just the microwave.
Oh yeah, oven. I never had a microwave oven ever. No? Just got an air fryer though.
Air fryers, that's where it's at.
Yeah.
I got one too.
I had one for like a couple of weeks now.
I even heat stuff up in it. Like I had a old piece of pizza that I just
I put the pizza in there too, because when I was watching YouTube to kind of see what it...
You can actually bring back French fries. French fries are like,
notorious.
You have to eat them in the first 20 minutes or they're gross. This episode has been sponsored by air fryers. What's your favorite foreign film?
Oh, just one more thing on air fryers, like speaking to their popularity. I saw somebody on online asking their friends, as people will for, options for something to get. And they're like, "What's the best air fryer to get?" Right? So I looked at the comments, and one person said, "I got mine on Amazon." And I don't think this person was trying to be snarky or anything. I think they were just like, yeah, no particular recommendation. Look on Amazon, stupid.
And you just, the public didn't like it?
I don't know. I had a laugh. So.
So you liked it. So do you have a favorite foreign film?
On the spot.
Mine's actually showing right now.
Yeah. Well, City of God. which, you know, I don't like spoiling things, except we never did put an alert about Good Morning if we did spoil anything in it. The Vow of Silence. Did you know that was going to be in there?
Yeah, no, there is a couple spoilers in here for sure.
So I know you have it up for foreshadowing. That's the filmmaker in you. So I don't mind spoiling that. The smart people already noticed.
Lahane's good. We watched Lahane in film school.
Oh, wow. Yeah, Lahane is really up there.
Yeah.
I did like that one. Oh, you know what? The And Your Mother Too. The fucking bleeping Mexican one. The one where And Your Mother Too. It's like the joke like that runs throughout it, like I slept with this person and your mother too, kind of thing. And it's these two guys that go on a road trip with this girl, and that one was super good. And like Amores Perros, you know.
Oh yeah.
He's kind of in that same thing.
What's the trilogy that's in? I do have Babel. I know that's a part of it.
Oh yeah, it looks stupid here. It's like the dog something trilogy or something. Shaolin Soccer, which I just brought up to you a couple weeks ago there. When I first got TMN back in high school, and that was on there in like the early 2000s or something like that. And it just blew me away, like seeing those kind of it was before a lot of special effects were really big, you know, like with those kind of like CGI-ish ones. I think it's CGI that's in it. I'm not sure exactly how everything's done, but that one really blew me away at the time. There are probably some other ones that I'll think of here.
Did I ever tell you the first time I saw City of God?
No.
And maybe I did, because I remember us talking, and this is a good segue anyways, of sometimes seeing a movie is all about the experience, and if there's a great experience wrapped around seeing this film, it just makes it that much more memorable. You're just like in the right mood. And I was going down to someone's house and buy some weed when I was young, and so I buy it. I'm gonna be in and out. My mom's it's perfect time
you
to run
didn't
down
see
there.
this till you're 19 in
Sorry, Mom.
2018.
No, but so yeah, exactly. It was last year, and so I'm running down there, and I'm in junior high.
No, you weren't.
So I go.
You were.
And so I go down there, and supposed to be in and out, and they're like, "Bet you can't smoke that all in once." Can't tell a little kid that, right?
Can't call me chicken.
But I can't roll it. So they sit and they roll it for me, and I sit down, and they pop on City of God, and the math is, it would have been like the year that City of God came out, so it's like a fresh movie.
What year did it come out? 2003?
So like 12. And and I should have just let them do the math. But so I'm smoking it, and I'm watching this movie, and like this thing's going, and I'm just so absorbed by the film, right? And these are all guys in high school. So I'm watching this film, loved it. The credits roll, the hypnosis wears off, and I'm like, oh, geez, man, that was a great movie, but it's probably late. What time is it? And I'm like, 1:30. 1:30! So I gotta run back home. My mom's standing at the door waiting for me. This is before cell phones. I don't think I wouldn't have had a cell phone at this time, right? But like, I don't know. It's a great story to go with it, but it's a great movie.
Yeah. How many times do you think you've watched it?
I've watched it quite a few times, because it's one of those movies, and the only person that that's seen it without me having to show them was my buddy Tommy. But it's one of those movies, and I have quite a few, that I love to sit down with people and show it to them for the first time and get their reactions on it. So I've watched it over 10 times for sure. But this is going on almost 20 years now. Mm-hmm. So I've watched it quite a few times.
Yeah, I've probably seen it probably 3 or 4 times, maybe probably 5 times. Because I did a similar thing for a while where I wanted... It is one of those ones that, you know, really turns you on and radicalizes you towards wanting to show people.
Yeah.
You know, like a good band does. You know, that is something very rare with movies, actually. Where you just, like, you want to be the one that told people about this specific movie. So that, I don't know, I guess that's an ego thing. You want to resonate in their... in their brain. They're like, oh, well, this is going to form a memory, and they're not going to forget it, and they'll associate it with me and my my generosity.
And I think in my friend group, other than my buddy Tommy, has just always been that guy with the films, you know what I mean? Always bringing people together and getting them, you got to watch this film. There's just a film that I came across maybe years before, right before, and it was the same with True Romance. When we first started watching True Romance, like I would have watched it back in the day, but when I brought it back and fell in love with the movie all over again, I watched it like 7 times in a row because everyone I was with, I was like, you got to check this movie out.
So I was just laughing about that. The True Romance, how when you got it, it was like the same disc twice or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
There's just
double disc, double down on the
like
double
how does
disc.
that even happen?
I got
two of the exact same discs.
2 disc ones. 2 disc ones.
Yeah, all you want is a disc 2.
But luckily, buddy down at Select Sounds, I took it back to him and he switched it, no problem, free of charge. And
Hardy Gold. Now he's got good. 2 disc 2s. Yeah.
Got to go down to that spot in Bedford. They're the sponsor of this show. They just don't even know it
yet. Yeah, we might as well address a few more of these things. Lord of War, I did watch once or twice. That's that beginning, the
Nicolas
making
Cage's
of the
best film.
Yeah, well, you know, it's definitely takes that one seriously.
Yeah. Con Air I hold closer to my heart, but I think for full out genuine quality of a piece, Lord of War is his best film for sure.
Yeah, he's a heavy dude in that one. You know, really in that gray area of ethics and things like that. They did a good job of that. And yeah, just that whole making of a bullet thing at the beginning.
Yeah.
I think it's like that, what the fuck was that song? Like, boom, boom. Oh, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. Is that the song that was over the bullet? Yeah, so there's stuff that sticks out there. I thought that whole movie was good at the time, though.
Jared Leto and Ethan Hawke, both great actors. Lord of War, bro.
I even forgot he was in it, to tell you the truth.
You don't see Ethan Hawke as an antagonist very often, which I'm really excited to see that black phone.
Mm-hmm.
Looks really cool. Fargo, classic. One of my grandfather's favorite films, for sure. One that, me and him definitely watched a lot together. Always crack jokes about.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Eat your eggs, Margie.
Oh my God.
Royal Tenenbaums also. You know that I should be a little more privy to Wes Anderson, but Royal Tenenbaums definitely is up there.
Yeah, I did see that I don't want to say too much about the French Dispatch, but I saw it is on Disney Plus now, so I do plan to check that out.
Oh, I've seen it. It's great.
You liked it?
Yeah.
I couldn't remember if you liked. Oh yeah, it was the other one you didn't care as much for.
The Budapest. I think I had like really high hopes for it.
Oh.
But French Dispatch, I really liked. It's one of those like.
Sounds like white noise.
No, Jesus Christ. Studio B's really making some noise.
Waterfall in there.
Yeah, but it's there's something to do with, and I think this is a great segue actually. It's one of those films that have different stories, and then they all kind of get tied together.
Mm-hmm.
Soundproofing's not up to par in this place at all. Which is kind of like your book that you were reading. That's also Japanese.
Oh yeah. Speaking of Good Morning, this Haruki Murakami. Pretty sure that Murakami. 1Q84. That I know we talked about that a little bit, but yeah, it goes back and forth between different characters. And that one, this girl Green Bean, kind of like edamame. Her name is Aomame, which is Green Bean.
Aomame.
Yeah, and another guy named Tango.
Tango.
Yeah. So he's like the math guy who's also a writer of fiction books.
Talks to cats, this guy?
No, that's in Kafka on the Shore. That's the other Japanese book that I just finished, which also has a similar thing, where it goes back and forth between this guy Kafka, who's kind of like, and they address this in the book because it sounds like the story of Buddha, if you ever know, like, the guy who's pretty well off, and he goes and lives with the poor people. I forget how long, it was like 30 years or something Buddha did, and then, he took those lessons, he realized that he couldn't do anything from the streets or something, so he decided to go back and whatever by the end. It kind of follows a similar story to that, like he goes off on his own even though his dad's rich, and starts just hanging out in this library and getting like stowed away conveniently by like the guy who works there, and then going back and forth to Nakata, the 60-year-old guy. The sort of inciting incident in that is all these people back in the 40s or 20s, I don't even know, it's like 20 or 40 years before, or 60 years maybe, I don't know, before, and all these people are out picking mushrooms on a field trip, and then everyone passes out but the teacher. So you're right, it starts out with like a very investigative-y, like they're getting everything that she had to say about it at the time. They're trying to suss out exactly what kind of weirdness might have led to it, and then but it turns out she's omitting some things that come out in the course of the book, but she's like quite early on, like the way, like once they start getting into Nakata and stuff, like I'm pretty sure he was like one of the kids from then, because there's this one that stayed passed out way longer, and then he's just basically saying he's stupid, but he's like got a lighter shadow, so it's kind of like he's missing half of his shadow, so it must be like the smart part of him kind of thing, so he's living on this government subsidy and making extra cash talking to the cats and figuring out where missing cats are. And then when he returns them, he's getting a little bit of money, a nice meal. He's like really into eel and stuff, so if he can afford that, once a month.
Who's directing that film?
Holy moly.
Is that a Wes Anderson? I heard
that. Well, in the 1Q84, there's like a lot of the time people are like hiding away, it seems like. So there's like points like there's this one, the other person, Aomem Name, she like kills somebody. So she's like being protected kind of by this dowager and her security guard. And so like, you know, she's like stuck in a place, like kind of quarantined, doesn't want to be spotted out in public by anyone, in case they're looking for her. And then kind of a similar thing. And then a third character comes in, like a guy who is hired to look at, like, follow Tango, gets like a like an apartment, goes as far as getting like an apartment in near where he can see his place, and like being there all the time. And he's like a little, like, the way I visualize it from the book is almost like Danny DeVito, like, no offense to Danny DeVito or anything, but they're like, he's an ugly man, and like, you know, he's like a fucking, I forget now because it was last winter that I read it, but like they basically say he's like a snail or a slug or something, like he can barely move around.
Paul Giamatti or something.
Paul Giamatti could be in the movie. And like, or he might have been like, because you would get into like a sleeping bag or something, and they say he's like a larvae or something. You know what I mean?
And that's the one with descriptive sex scenes and all that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah.
So, that was my question. So who's directing the film?
Well, it could be extreme if it was like a dead-on adaptation, but
what director would you like to see?
Like, it's hard to say because it is so Japanese that it seems like it would have to be, you know, someone who is in that scene that could do it. Like, someone must have tried to option it. There's not a whole lot of his books that have been turned into movies. None that I've read at all. I think there was one called Norwegian Wood, named after the Beatles song, I think.
Okay.
I mean, like, there is a Beatles song definitely called that, but it's like so music-centric in books. Like, even in this Kafka on the Shore one, there's like this song, Kafka on the Shore, and it's like he knows this song and like loves it and feels at a very deep level, and then this, like, he knows like for certain that this Miss Sakai one was the one who made the song, who is like the head of this library. You know, he's just like, he's got it in his head, like, this is the one. So eventually, like, he's like, oh, I can't like sort what chords are being played here, I'm gonna like ask her, or something like that. And they're the same ones, I think. Even like they mention it's from like a specific Beatles song, like the chords, these two specific ones that he couldn't fathom.
Do you like Parasite?
Yeah, I love Parasite, actually. Man, like, I know you mentioned that we were going to talk about another movie from the 90s, but unlike that movie, Parasite really knows how to like have a well-rounded concept, and like really, like, if it was packing for a trip, like, it would be a well-packed piece of luggage, very like all the pieces matter kind of thing, and like very much an apt name, Parasite, for like wow, like as far as like symbolism and like ways you can kind of think of it in relating to other subjects is very interesting.
Yeah, man. And cleaned up at the Oscars.
Yeah.
2020.
Yeah, well, for like a couple weeks there, it was a hype machine.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's all kind of died down over time, but
has a Jordan Peele level of symbolism.
Yeah.
Everything you hear and see has a meaning.
Yeah.
Like, it's a wild ride. For sure.
Yeah, I'm like really embarrassed to say like that I didn't watch Snowpiercer yet by that guy.
No.
Or I don't think maybe one of his other films. I'd have to look it up, but like clearly like a director that you should be checking more stuff out. I know like Snowpiercer, is all like Western actors or something on the train through Alaska or something that can't stop or only stops. No, I think it probably can't stop.
Only makes the stops. Makes every stop. You kept making the stops, they kept ringing the bell!
Yeah. Sorry, let's segue that to the Darjeeling Limited, which you didn't see. So.
I got my Seinfeld reference in this episode, I'm happy. So, kicking it back to Good Morning. Crazy that the director actually only lived for 4 more years after this film.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Died in 1963. This was 1959.
Yeah.
Hopefully, he was happy with this film. I don't know if he had a film after this, so...
he was so prolific. It was his second film in color, I think I mentioned. But yeah, I'm not sure how many he had after it.
This one was probably hitting home for him, as you mentioned. He lived with his mother his whole life.
Yeah, up until he was 60 years old, I think. Or he might have died at 60 years old, but 2 years...
It was on his birthday, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right. He died on his birthday.
His 60th birthday.
Yeah. The irony of dying on your birthday, as they say. It was 2 years after his mom that he lived with there his whole life, which is crazy considering, just from what I read about him, it seemed like his circle was small.
Yeah.
It sounded like, despite this body of work, you'd think you'd be like the top echelon of Hollywood. And just without knowing...
Your 56-year-old still making fart jokes.
But just the context of that, you think...
Very family driven.
Yeah, it just seems like it'd be so wide and he would be, having to worry about paparazzi or something out there, but that just what little you know about him makes him seem just a small circle, just living with your mom until, I think he died of cancer, she probably, died of old age or something like that. But, almost in a widower's way, just reading it, the way your brain makes you think about it without any context to what his life was actually like, but it makes him sound like, it seems depressing.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying it is.
No, it's a fun watch. You kind of, I think it was basically you're trying to navigate, just trying to get the characters. There's right off the bat, there's 10 plus characters that you're trying to figure out who's in relation to who. But then there's that...
It's overwhelming.
Yeah, and it's only a 90-minute film.
Yeah.
And it's the first half hour is trying to figure everything out, but there's the inciting incident that everything makes sense to you, and then it's just a fun ride.
I know.
After that. Really enjoyable.
And the way it is filmed, there are, a lot of, we were talking about, we don't have much context for, we don't watch a lot of the sitcoms from that period, and, but it was filmed, with a lot of, I feel wide shots and things like that, kind of sitcoms are known for having a lot of those,
They didn't try to get too technical.
No, didn't try and get too technical, but, the visual stuff that was in there was all very important, and not to undermine like the technicality of it at all. Like it did have a lot of really like complex storytelling sort of things. Like the hill, like watching at the time, like I was really struck by that shot in between the buildings where you see the hill up there.
That shot.
Yeah, and just like the edit.
You see the people, they're working out on top of the hill, or they're doing the little fart yoga or whatever it is, and there's something to do with that hill for sure, like you were saying.
Like it's above it, and you know, I don't know if it's like meant to say things about like how like maybe the kids are up there more often, so like they're like above the parents and looking down on them, or exactly like in the one watch, it's hard to collect all of that kind of symbolism and stuff out of it.
The name, like it talks about it in the film. That's one thing that we haven't discussed yet. Is when the kids are fighting with the father, you know, and it's funny, they want a little color in this black and white world.
They want a little black and white in this colored world.
Yeah. They, you know, they're saying, they're pretty much looking at as adults as robots. All you guys do is say good morning, good night.
Oh yeah. There's that whole thing, like he's like rebelling right to her, like, oh yeah, you think you know so much, you know? Oh, you just go about your day. Oh, good morning, good night. Yeah, no, exactly. Like the kids know what's up. Like you're behind the times. Like,
and the most adorable kid in cinema. I'm saying it now, man. Like. He makes, you know, Macaulay Culkin look like Jim Kroll or whatever his name is.
I once bit into a spring roll and see what they make this Macaulay Culkin look like.
Yeah, like
a lot of cabbage. This kid.
Like, if this film was American, like it'd be that film that everyone for generations and generations has to show their kid, you know what I mean? Like it would have been such a success.
Yeah, and I don't know if like I'm supposed to get like Leave It to Beaver vibes or something. Like it's like some of the stuff's like a little bit before my time. But I mean, like, you know, you're following that Rent story. You know, like it's kind of like weird the way the stakes are balanced in that, because they're getting told like, oh yeah, you know, it's like it's almost like a magic trick, be like, or like gaslighting, telling people like, oh yeah, you know, you didn't pay your dues.
The one character.
No, I paid the dues.
Yeah, exactly.
And she's like pretty like relaxed about it at first.
And the politics, she's saying, yeah, she goes and apologizes to one person, and then she goes to the next person who she's been talking shit and saying, she was apologizing to me because she wanted to stay face. You know, because she has the little bit of hierarchy, being the, I forget what it was called, but the collector of the and then that plays in with the vow of silence, because the kids don't say anything to her, and then she's like, oh, the parents must be talking shit
they're like
about me. For the kids to shun me, cold shoulder me like that. Like, that was a great moment of that film to kind of cross.
And you know, it's kind of her comeuppance in a little bit of a way. Exactly. Like she gets to feel like it springs on some of that guilt that she should be feeling about it. Even though it's unintentional. But it shows like how those, you know, lines get crossed and stuff. And
then the kids have a little bit of you know, now that they're doing this vow of silence, they even take it to the school. The teachers are trying to talk to them. They don't say anything. And then make sure you bring your lunch money. So they want to stick to this vow, but they're trying to do the charades with the parents. And
they're like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. Why don't you just tell us?
And I think maybe it would have been funny for the kids to walk away and the parents to be like, I know exactly what they wanted, but I know what they're doing. So, you know, I'll play your game, but in, you know.
And I really did like that moment with the father when, you know, like, he's the one who's elected to, you know, like, go talk to these kids, you know, get them to talk. You know, he's kind of like the cool dad, if there is one of the bunch.
Yeah.
And yeah, he sits down with them, and, you know, he's like, you know, what's going on? Just talk to me. And then they, you know, like, that fart game is like, they're breaking the silence with the fart game.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's also just a way of telling him, like, you know, this is okay. This is okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're okay.
Yeah.
And, like, he needed to hear that at the time.
Yeah, exactly.
And to know that about them.
Yeah.
And, you know, it just, in that moment, like, he was probably very proud that he raised kids that were able to stand for what they believe and, you know, take a stance like that.
Yeah. And they got their TV, and he bought it from the guy who got the job, you know, which is clearly a job that would work on commission. So it did have that happy ending.
Yeah.
For all.
Yeah, and you never see them watch TV or anything. Like, the closest you get is seeing that box.
Yeah.
Oh. Fuck. Spoiler alert.
Spoiler.
They get... That, oh, that's the most egregious thing I've ever said. I'm sorry. We'll bleep that like it was a big F-bomb.
Yeah. But definitely a movie that that people should watch. It's a hidden gem for sure.
Yeah. Like,
I'm glad we could talk about it here.
Yeah, I forget. I know we talked about when we started, but like, what spurred it on for me, like, was it after the Criterion Closet collection type videos?
Yes, exactly.
Like, I brought it up to you. Did we see it in there or something? Like, or did I?
We came across it. We obviously were looking for some content, and I think you brought it up to me that it was on a list, or you must have saw it in the Criterion Closet, that someone was holding it in high regard.
Yeah, like, it was coming up in a couple of different ones.
Yeah.
And, like, it was another one of those sort of movies like City of God, where you just want to be the one that shows it to people. And I think that was, like, the context of a lot of these things.
Yeah.
You know, if you take the time to actually sit down and watch it, you know, you're going to have a little bit of an experience with it.
Yeah.
And, like, I know I'm really bad for watching movies, and this happens all the time with us, where you're like, oh yeah, you remember this part of a movie, even if I just saw it or recently saw it, and, like, I just draw a complete blank.
Yeah.
And, like, I'm just like, oh my god, there goes the memory.
Yeah.
Don't even remember nothing about this.
Yeah.
And it sounds like something I should. But yeah, definitely has one that you'll carry along forward.
Yeah.
Good morning. Even though, like, I was worried for us, especially after maybe a year, 2 years, like you said, 3 places ago.
Yeah.
However the hell long it was, to actually, like, sit down, like, you know, easy to overhype it after that long, especially, like, when you think back, it's just, like, you know, makes the praise for it seem enormous in your head.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, I don't know if it was that long ago. Maybe it was, I was probably 2 places ago. I think I was living at...
Bedford? No.
No, Wellington maybe.
Wellington.
Or Clayton Park. No, I was in Clayton Park.
Must have been if you were going down the Select South.
Yeah.
Did you get that around the time of True Romance?
I can't remember because did I buy True Romance and you were there? I might have bought them at the same time. I know I bought a couple.
You know what? I was there when you bought it. It was like, I mean, it's gonna break your pocketbook to get it. You know, it's north of $19. I think it was $20.
Yeah. But
you were like, you know, I'm gonna get it. You know, like, you can appreciate that.
Yeah,
exactly. You know, you had your own little stand.
You can't judge your, especially being a person that loves physical copies of films, you can't just go for the $5 bin, you know what I mean?
Yes.
You gotta be able to check a little change, especially, I love how Select Sounds has that category of the Criterion.
Yeah,
also got that Royal Tenenbaums there.
Mm-hmm.
And
I think, yeah, like it might have been just like a little roundabout thing. Like we might have seen like
we definitely knew about the film before we saw it at Select Sounds.
Mm-hmm.
Because we were like, oh my god, it's good.
But
morning.
we might have looked up the Criterion collection because they had a Criterion collection.
No, exactly.
You know,
that's what we were doing.
It's hard to say, and you know, it's like kind of false advertising if you look at the cover, because the TVs do not look that futuristic. So if there's like one major downside is there's just nothing.
Yeah, it's not a Jetson TV.
It's not a. You know what? That's a good way of putting it. It's not a Jetsons TV.
Yeah, that's perfect. Once again, go down to Select Sounds, Central Bedford, and check it out. They don't just have DVDs. They got vinyls. They got CDs,
rock books.
All your physical copies for artistic content.
Mm-hmm.
Go to Select Sounds.
Yeah.
For sure. And yeah, it's official. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Do it.